What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Bro Let's Talk. I am Jeff Seats, the creator of Bro Let's Talk. Here on Bro Let's Talk, we talk about everything from finances, entrepreneurship, dating, divorce, and all of anything else that is in that category. So today is a special day. I have a special guest with me. I have someone that I respect very much. We met recently, and from there, it kind of just took off. He is a father, entrepreneur. He does a lot, but I'm going to let him introduce himself. We're going to get into it. Go ahead, man.
My name is James Johnson. I am born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm a journalist.
Okay. How did you get into, journalist? When I think of journalist, I think of, newspapers or
Right.
so what is that, define that for me.
So for me, it's more on a digital scale, and obviously
Okay.
there's so much more that I do than just being the typical journalist or what
Okay.
most people would think of as a journalist.
Yeah.
So I think really just to kind of sum it all up, I have a love of all things media.
Okay.
Obviously reporting
Yeah.
and, doing, different events, red carpet events, doing interviews and that sort of thing. But again, a love of all media. So, that can be inclusive of public relations.
Okay.
Obviously your formats like radio, TV, podcasting, that sort of thing. So what I did was I created my own media company that is inclusive of all of those things, or all of the pieces of media that I love. So I have a PR firm, I have a podcast network, I'm launching a radio station this July, and I've published a digital magazine, entertainment magazine, for
Yeah.
the past decade. But then that actually ran as a blog for 10 years prior to that.
Okay.
So it's been over 20 years, but the magazine I launched in 2014, so it's been 10 years.
Okay. How has the magazine done since then? How has it?
It actually has done very well.
Okay.
It's up and down.
Okay.
The media business, it can be fickle. Obviously starting out, there's not a whole lot of money in it. So it really just depends on how much work you're able to put into it, and,
Okay.
the different things that you're able to do to market it, to promote it, to monetize it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much that I've done over the past decade to do those things.
Yeah.
I think what I did, when I launched the blog, it was what I wanted to do,
Okay.
but I didn't really think about the business aspect of it. So I was interviewing every celebrity in the world kind of for the fun of it,
Yeah.
because it was fun.
For the fun.
And then eventually it hit me like,
Yeah.
I should be making some
Making
money off of
money.
this.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, that was after me kind of putting it down and going to grad school
Mm-hmm.
and, really figuring out what I wanted to do. I worked at university hospitals for 22 years. So I was working a traditional
Yeah.
job, but miserable. So, me launching that magazine, or rebranding and then launching the magazine in 2014, it really was kind of the precursor to me getting out of the hospital and just kind of following passion, purpose and passion.
What did that? You said 22 years at the hospital.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Long time.
That is that's a very long time.
Long time.
So what was that moment where you knew, this is not what I want to do anymore?
I think I knew that all along.
Okay.
Like, I can take you back to day one when I started, and I said I won't be here longer than 6 months.
And then 22
So,
years,
and then,
21.
22 years went
Yeah.
by. Many people, they start at places like the hospital, and, they kind of get wrapped into the 401k or the
That's what I was
403b
gonna say, yeah.
and the benefits, and, how you're able to take care of your family.
Because the
money
benefits
behind
are
it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a job. It was stability. I was able to pay rent and, pay a car note and all of that stuff. And I had a kid. My son was born in 2006.
Okay.
So, I've had job offers before in New York, kind of with,
Okay.
record labels and whatnot, because I've always known I wanted to work in media
Yeah.
and entertainment. But once my son was born, it's, you kind of, as a parent, you kind of put stuff on the back burner.
Yeah, you got to think about them.
Even
first.
though you're still working at it,
Yeah.
you put stuff on the back burner, and I still found a way to pursue it.
Okay,
Obviously
yeah.
while I was working at the hospital and taking care of him, and I was married to his mom. We were married for between 11 and 12 years.
Okay.
So I think the first piece of me figuring, okay, this is not where I need to be, outside of me just being angry, stressed, pissed at the world,
Yeah.
about having to go to work and kind of everybody's story.
Yeah.
I networked very well. So I stumbled on an opportunity to go and cover the Soul Train Awards.
Okay.
And that was 2013. I went out, did it, everything went fine. It was like a last minute thing. So, they literally emailed me and said, okay, you're in, we'll see you Wednesday. And this is Monday night.
Did you think that it was really official?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Obviously, I went on BET's website and I saw a freelance opportunity and, and I applied for it.
Oh, okay.
So, I knew
I thought it was just like...
I knew I applied for something.
Okay, cool.
But it did not say Soul Train Awards.
Okay.
It just said freelance opportunity, media.
Oh, wow. That's a blessing.
Reach out or, submit.
Yeah.
And I submitted like literally on Saturday. And my ex-wife and I, we were getting ready to go to a cabaret for like one of the fraternities.
Okay.
And we talked about it and laughed about it. Like, I applied for this opportunity. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
And, just let it go. Monday, I went to work like, any other day. That afternoon, I'm in the car, headed home. And like most people, I'm checking emails and text messages while I'm driving. And email from BET. You got it. We'll see you Wednesday. And it's like...
And it was Monday.
And it's Monday at 4 o'clock. Wow. So I'm like...
Let's find a flight.
I gotta get a flight. I gotta get a hotel.
Wow.
And I called everybody I knew, like, listen, I need a couple dollars.
That's what I was gonna ask you. I know, thank God for financial growth, but I can just think about in that moment, I would just think like, oh my goodness, do I have enough money to do this?
Absolutely.
Can I get there? Blah, 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 blah.
Absolutely.
So
and the reality is I'd like most people out here, I was check to check.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways I still am.
Yeah.
Because when you're pushing a business and you're building a brand and you kind of doing your own thing and you're not relying on the traditional job and the 401k and
it's difficult out here.
It's difficult. And you have your up moments and then you have your down moments. And it's like, I got some money, but that's the rent money.
Yeah.
And that's the utility money. And
once
I'm married,
gone,
like I can't just blow this money because.
Absolutely.
So, I literally called around and grace of God, like I called my father, and he said, yeah, I'll give you some money. And I literally spent the next 8-9 hours on like Expedia, trying to find a cheap flight.
Yeah.
Because of course from here to Vegas in 2 days notice, it's like $1,000.
Yeah.
I found a flight in Dayton.
Okay.
And literally packed the car up, time to go. Drove to Dayton the next day, Tuesday. Wow. Let the job know because I was management at UH.
Okay.
So I was able to take the time off, and I had somebody who worked under me who could kind of run my departments while I was gone for those days. And it was just like, talk to my boss, and I'm like, this is like a lifetime goal. Like I have to do it.
I have to do it.
And they obliged.
That's a blessing because some people will give you a hard time.
Yeah, and and they eventually did, but for that opportunity, they said go ahead. Okay. Flew out Tuesday, was there kind of the whole week because it's like a big production piece to be doing the red carpet and all that, and you have to go to production meetings and all of that stuff. So that was like my first official media gig.
Okay.
Flew out. My aunt worked at Candlewood Suites, so she was able to get me the employee rate out there. Yeah. It was like $40-$45 a night.
Okay.
So literally, and again, I'm like pension. So like, I don't know if you've been to Vegas, but the Candlewood Suites is by the Stratosphere. And the event was
I stayed at the Strat.
Yeah, I have before too, but
I love it.
it's kind of over there. And the event was at the Orleans, which is down closer to the airport.
Okay.
And I literally walked from Candlewood Suites to the Orleans every day. Like, but I was that geeked and that excited and that pumped about it that I'm like, shit, I don't care.
And opportunities.
And I've been to Vegas enough. I know my way around. I got some family here. I'm good.
Yeah, for sure.
And like legit walked, sweating, get to the event. I'm like, but I'm good.
But
You know, I'm pumped. Everything went off without a hitch. I was there like most of that week, and this was the year that Wendy Williams, you know, she hosted the red carpet and all that stuff.
I think I seen a picture. Did you post a picture?
I posted a picture because
yeah.
my family is like super supportive. So like
Yeah.
my sister had snapped this picture
Yeah.
of like when I was in between Wendy
They could
and
see
Keith
you
Sweat.
on the TV.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so that was like my first media gig.
Okay.
And I mean, I've always known that I could do this stuff because, again, you know, by that point I had been doing media for 10 years,
right.
independently. But I still was interviewing pretty much the biggest of the biggest. So
Yeah.
I did that, and then following that, I guess I did well enough that they offered me the BET Awards, which was June of the next year. So that was like the BET Awards, 106 in Park, all the different stuff that they had for like the 3-4 day stretch.
Right.
But the difference with that was actually covering the red carpet like for my brand. So it wasn't like working red carpet for them and setting up production. It was actually like I was in the media.
Wow.
So that was like huge. So then it was like, I gotta do it.
Yeah.
Well, then the job was like, you gotta pick, or you gotta figure out what you're gonna do. And at that point, I just said, okay, I picked me, and this is my last day.
So
like I walked from UH in 2014.
Wow.
I knew this was like just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
And I just took the chance, took the leap. I will say, I mean, among other things, I will say that probably was one of the biggest things that kind of put like a dent in my marriage. Was that like I left my job, but it was like, what I'm gonna do? Like, what I'm gonna do? If I don't take this opportunity, it's not gonna come back.
Yeah.
It might, but it's probably not gonna come back.
Wow.
So it was just like, take it and roll with the punches, and God got me, and it's gonna work out. And you know, grace of God, everything worked out. Everything was cool. You know, bills, remain paid.
Right. Okay, so let me back up. You said a lot.
Yeah.
You said a lot, and I think that it's so important. For one, the walking. That's what stood out to me. Because when you're passionate about something and you want something so bad, you will sacrifice and you will walk and you will do stuff because of the belief that you have in what you're trying to get to. So that one thing the previous year then led to the BET Awards, right? That was that avenue.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for people to understand that even if it doesn't happen right after, you never know what can happen within a year or whatever.
You never know what.
Always show up and do your best.
Absolutely.
Because that's big.
I mean, God willing. It just, I had to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say I didn't have support behind me in doing it, but
from your marriage,
from the marriage,
was she
from
supportive?
family, she was supportive.
Okay.
But I think it stressed her a lot too, because I mean, just being honest, like we really we were good, like we were okay. So
financially,
okay. So that puts a big dent in
when you
or it puts a big dent, and it leaves a lot of uncertainty as to whether are we gonna be able to pay the rent? Are we gonna be able to pay the utilities? Like, where's the money gonna come from? And it's hard to find a job when you don't have a job. So it's like when I say I landed at some places and it was like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Wow. And you have a lot of doubts and a lot of second guessing, and it's like the scariest thing. Like, I haven't always been, I guess, as confident as what I am now, and as sure of what it is that I'm doing. So it was a big leap. Like, it was a giant leap. Thankfully things worked out the way that they did, but it was a giant leap. And then I have a kid.
Yeah. So I can relate to that. When I don't think I was married yet, but I was in a relationship with my daughter's mother. And I always knew that I didn't want to work for anybody else. Like, I've always known, like, I have a quality of myself to myself that I just wanted to be my own boss.
Yeah.
And I had that leadership mindset. But I took us through some situations where I'm like, I'm quitting my job and I'm gonna sell food and I'm a blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And she's like, what?
Like, what's wrong with you?
What are you talking about? Like, you're going to support us off of selling food. Now, fast forward to years later, that worked out.
Yeah.
But we weren't together. But that's a scary place to be.
It is.
When you have a dream, a vision, and you have to tell your partner about it. Like,
Absolutely.
this is what I want to do. This
Absolutely.
is what I'm going to do. And I need your support.
Absolutely.
And in that conversation with her, what did that look like initially? Like, you said she was supportive. So when did that change?
I think it was more so in retrospect and in hindsight. Like, when I look back, like, I realized clearly that she was very supportive, and she stood by me.
Okay.
And, I mean, she went to the BET Awards with me.
Oh, good.
And, I mean, because I never was one that, okay, if I get this opportunity, like, ain't nobody going with me. Like, I'm gonna go by myself. Like, I want her to go. I wanted my son to go. Like, I wanted them to see, not just to see like the glitz and the glamour and the limelight, but to see what it is that like fuels me and like makes me happy. And I think I wanted that support. I think in that moment, I didn't necessarily feel like I always got it.
Okay.
Like, I feel like it came more like from my mother, from my sister, from stuff like that. So
But not from her.
Right.
In that moment.
Right, in that moment.
Do you
I
think
can
you
look
were
back
put-
now
Right.
and I can see that the support really was there. The support really was there, but I just think that there was a lot of fear in the unknown. Like,
In her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, where is money gonna come from?
Which is
How are we gonna
understandable.
pay the bills?
Yeah.
And you know, when you think back at it now, like, I'm 46 now, so like, I get it. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some people that are more. When I was married, I found that the woman I was married to, I don't want to say like wanted to just be stable, but she kind of wanted, which is true.
Well, she did, but
she,
go
she did. But when I say that, I mean like stable in the way of she works one job for 22 years. You know where the money's coming from. You know this, you know that. And then on the other side, I'm like, well, we gonna just risk it all. Like, you know, if it comes.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah. And so do you think that two people on those two different spectrums are essentially meant to be together?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And I mean, just, I guess, taking it a step further and kind of, I guess, relating it closer to me.
Yeah.
I think in that sense, we weren't meant to be together.
Because of that, or was there more?
I think it was more.
Okay.
But I mean, you know, we spoke a little bit more. I am of the LGBTQ community. So, I mean, I think that has been there in my mind.
Yeah.
Shit, my entire life. It's a lot of what, as men, like, we suppress it.
Yeah.
You know, especially as kids, you don't want to be ridiculed and made fun of and beat up and, you know, all of the stuff that comes along with, you know, obviously being gay.
Yeah.
And like, you don't really want that. So you kind of suppress it. And, you know, in the moment, like when we got together, like, it was genuine. It wasn't anything. And I mean, I had dated girls before, so it wasn't anything like, okay, well, let's do this to kind of cover up the fact that I like a guy or I want to be with a guy. Like, it legit was
Because
genuine.
people will usually assume that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's the easy assumption. But, you know, the reality, I mean, it's a lot of gay people out here. It's a lot of bi people out here. It's a lot of, I mean, the reality is we saw each other. We liked each other. We met at the hospital. We were together 5 years before my son came about.
Okay.
So it wasn't like it was just a flash in the pan and, oh, we got married because we had him and or we were trying to cover anything up or anything. Like, we legit fell in love.
So that is possible.
Yeah, I think it's very much possible.
I love that you're saying that because
It's
I
very
think
much
that people put everybody in a box, and I am so over that.
Yeah. It's very much possible. And I mean, in my marriage, I did, I guess, the typical of what the husband is, you know, expected to do.
Which
I mean,
is
obviously she worked her job, I worked my job, but I tried to take care of as much as what I could so that she didn't have to really worry about nothing. So, I mean, I think overall, we had a really good marriage. I think it just, after so long, and I think it just kind of started to, fall apart. We kind of grew apart in a lot of senses. And then I started getting to a place where now I'm realizing like what I really want.
How old were you at that age?
This was
at that time.
No, this was 6 years ago, so 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 6 years
so
ago.
It's fresh. That's still
it's fresh. I mean, I'm like, I guess I've been out 5 years.
Okay.
So it's, still fresh.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. You said a lot.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you being vulnerable and opening up about that. I do think that it's important for everybody to tell how they feel or what they feel their truth is.
Right. And that's important. Like I've been through the depression thing and wanting to die. And
because of suppressing that, or
I think because of that, but then also like going through the divorce process and everything.
What was that like?
Honestly, it was horrible. And I mean, I think, obviously we both knew that, okay, we shouldn't be together. There was never, and I know the biggest question that people watching are probably wondering is like, was there infidelity in the marriage? There was never a lick of infidelity or anything.
So you were able to stay in your marriage.
Absolutely.
And not go out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So there was never any infidelity. That me coming out came after I went to counseling and like kind of did the work, and then, got to a place of, okay, I need to be happy and I'm gonna just do me.
Yeah.
And everybody got rolled with it. So that, that came after me kind of going to counseling and just realizing that, okay, this is my truth and I need to live it.
You've been in therapy for 6 years, or was that before?
The therapy was right after the marriage. So,
okay.
I mean, in all honesty, I haven't been to therapy probably in 3 years.
Really?
I probably need to go back. But
I was going to say, like, I talk to people that are like, well, I was in therapy, but I gave it a break. And it's like, why?
Yeah. Well, it was more of, me not being able to afford it at the time.
Okay. Because it is expensive.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
I was still working at the hospital also.
Okay.
So, the insurance paid for it at that time.
Right.
And then eventually, once I left the hospital, I was kind of self-insured.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't afford it.
Absolutely.
So I'm actually in a place now where I have the insurance that actually will pay for it.
Good.
So I have been considering going back because to be perfectly honest, I enjoyed going to counseling and actually talking. Once I found the right counselor.
Yeah.
And like that's
very
the
important.
biggest piece of it too is finding the right person to talk to.
Did we talk about that? I think we talked about
maybe
that.
Maybe a little bit.
I think it's so important to find your therapist.
Absolutely.
Somebody that fits what you need.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to go to therapy years ago and I sat outside and I left.
The first time I went, I could have killed the lady. Like I was just like, I can't take it. Like, so and I had done a few sessions with her, and I was just like, I can't take it. And like, the day I blew up at her, I was just like, I gotta go.
Was it her or it was her?
To me, it was her. I just think that she didn't. I just don't think that she approached the situation. And I mean, I get how therapy sessions go, but I can't do and how does that make you feel?
See, my therapist does not do that. We have like a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's why I love her. So I've had two, but the first time I was trying to go to therapy, not to be like blunt, but it was an office full of like white people. And I love all people, but I just needed someone who could understand certain things that I was saying in a different way, and I didn't want to feel like I had to be proper. I just wanted to be me. And sometimes I'm very educated, but I can talk a little like ain't and different, like, and I just don't want to feel like I'm being judged in that process.
Like all eyes are on you.
And so now my therapist, we have conversations. I love how she is with me, and I honestly see myself continuing. I may give it a break, but I need to keep going.
Absolutely.
And it has helped me understand a lot of things about myself. It has helped me understand past trauma and all of those things that I was angry about for a long time and could not deal with it. I pushed therapy so much because growing up, it was, well, just talk to God about it.
Yeah.
And
there's
that's
such a
amazing.
stigma put on
Therapy.
therapy.
Especially
getting
by
help and-
black people in
Absolutely.
black churches and stuff like that. But it has truly helped me. And I don't think that I would be sitting on this couch having this podcast.
I wouldn't be.
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't be around
Yeah.
if I had not gotten help.
Good. So, when did you get through the divorce? Like, at what point did you know you was over?
So we, this media thing has taken me in so many different directions. So I go to Atlanta a lot.
Okay.
Had been wanting to kind of move to that area because I do so much media down there. I worked with a recruiting agency and they found me a management position at a hospital. It was in Alabama, but it was like 45 minutes from Atlanta. And they moved us. Gave me the job, moved us. We were down that way. And my son was homesick, so he wanted to come back home. So we only stayed a year. But also within that, she was unhappy as well.
In Atlanta.
I think there, but I'll say more specifically, I think she just was unhappy in the marriage at that point.
How did you know that? Like, what were the signs of that?
Well, to be honest, I think I took a blind eye to it, or I was oblivious to it.
Okay.
So
Which
I
happens.
didn't know anything until we came back home, and then we separated. Like,
Okay.
probably 2 days after we came back.
Wow.
And then it just kind of started to hit me like, oh, this shit was planned.
Yeah.
like this was planned out.
Yeah.
So, there was kind of, the little anger, in that moment. And I think that, me still not really being true to myself. Like, I was in a space where I wanted to fix it and she didn't want to fix it. Then I became fine, had gotten a place.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the depression and, angst came from not just the separation, but me kind of having to start over because it was just like, okay, we're separated, so I don't really have anywhere to go. We just came back from Alabama. I got to move back with my mother at 41, which is not a good feeling.
It's not a good feeling.
I don't have a job yet because we literally just came back.
Yeah.
I was able to go back to UH because, the one thing I've always kept really good relationships in the hospital, being on the management side.
Yeah.
So I was able to get back in, but then the hiring process or the rehire process, it's about 4 to 6 weeks. So then it's like, I can't not have any money for 6 weeks or 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Like, I got a lot of bills to pay.
Yeah. Life does not stop.
So it was just like all of that mounting and again, being at home. And that was kind of like, I think that was the trigger that kind of made the depression kind of rise up.
Okay.
In all honesty, I think I had been depressed probably for some time. But I think that was kind of what made it surface. Wow. And then I started driving Uber.
Okay.
Like, I need to make some money. I have an account. I've just never driven. Let's start driving. And that first week, it was like All-Star week though for the Cavs.
Oh,
so that week, like within 4 or 5 days, I had made, almost $1,500. So it was like, this is kind of gonna be the kick.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me back out of my mother's house.
Okay.
Really within a month.
Nice.
And I had moved to University Heights, and I think just the
Within a month?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a blessing.
But I think I was like, I guess I'll say like functionally depressed.
Okay.
So like I was down. If I wasn't working or anything like that, like I was at home, blinds closed, in the bed, whatever.
Yeah.
But then when it was time to get up and go to work, I got
here.
up, went to work.
Yeah.
I was working at UH, I was driving Uber, I was working at Amazon. Like, I'm a hustler.
Yeah.
So, whatever the case is or whatever I got to do, I'm going to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
But it was just like I'm dying. And then it got to a point where she then wanted to fix it. Now, I don't know if that was, okay, he kind of got his shit back up. And I don't know if it was that or if she just wanted to fix it. But I think the thing that stuck out in my mind at that point was like, she just wanted to do her. She said she just wanted to do her.
For
like
that time
as far
period.
as separating.
Okay.
She just want to do her.
And now she's ready to.
And now she's ready to kind of rekindle it. But then it was just like the way that it kind of went down. I wasn't the first person to find out of, the situation. So like my mother came to me and said she's done. And I'm like, we ain't had that conversation.
Wow.
So I just was like, I don't feel like it's genuine. And I gotta let it go. So then I was just like upfront and I'm like, well, I don't really want to fix it now. Like I'm good.
Wow.
So then that triggered, like, obviously the actual divorce filing, but then that triggered like alimony, child support. And it was just like, we wasn't supposed to do this. Like, we wasn't supposed to do this. Like, it was supposed to be like a clean break, like we good. And then that, whatever depression was there, that kind of like exacerbated it. And yeah, that was, I think that's kind of what, did it all.
Do you think you're still, you think you're over that, or are you still?
Yes and no. You can probably see my eyes. So
yeah. That's
yes and no.
That out of there.
But
what part of you still deals with that? Like what are you dealing with that?
I don't know. I think just the thought of it, like, when you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage, like there's all this talk about this is my best friend and I would never do this to you. And
yeah, man. Yeah.
It's like, I'll never do this to you. But you just see shit.
Yeah.
And it just was like, wow. Like I just never would have thought, because I know what I would never do.
Yeah, I went through that.
All right, we go.
I'm gonna talk while you get yourself together, but I went through that. There was a situation where, that was my high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
Love her to this day, so I'm not bad for her. But there was a situation once we broke up or whatever, that some things came out. There were conversations had that I just felt like you said, like I would never do that to you. Like,
I just think it was just like, and still to this day, like, I would never do that. I don't care how I feel about you or what happened in the moment or whatever. Like, it's just some stuff that I just would never do.
Yeah.
Now, obviously I can look back and I can say, okay, like tempers was flying and we was angry and blase, but like, my focus was my kid.
Yeah.
That's it. My focus was him. So I just think, and this is cool. Like, I'm not even tripping because of the tears or whatever, because people gotta understand that, like, guys got feelings. Like, like we not just made of stone. Like, we got hearts and we got feelings. And I mean, I think that, like, if it's one time in my life, like, where I could say, like, my heart was broken, like, it was broken.
Wow.
Now, fast forward, we're in a really, really good place.
I was gonna ask, like, where are you guys at now?
And it's been a long time coming. Like, you figure it's been since 2008. We separated in 2018. The divorce was finalized in 2020. And that was because
it took a while.
It did, and it shouldn't have, but
okay.
It just was, just
was that you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay.
But I mean, in the end, the beauty is that we are in a really good place now. And the reason, to be honest, like, I think the reason why we were really able to get to that place is because it's really about my son.
That's your son.
It's really about him. And at the end of the day, like, my feelings really, they matter, but they really don't matter because it's really about him. So, I've always had, obviously, that understanding. And she's always had that understanding. Like, I could never in my life say that she's been a bad mother. Yeah. And I know that she could never in her life say that I'm a bad father.
Absolutely.
Like, she could never, ever even suggest that I've been a bad father. Like, when I tell you some of the stuff that I have done and some of the stuff that I have, like, to make sure that he's good.
Yeah.
And to still in the process make sure that she's still good too. Because the reality is, she has to be good
For
if he's gonna be good.
absolutely.
Because he lived with her.
Yeah.
So like no matter what, I could be mad at you all day, but if you need it, I'm gonna still give it to you and still be mad at you.
Do you think that is so my situation is a little different, and then I want to talk about your son and kind of get into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But you said even if I'm mad at you, I'm gonna still give it to you. Okay. My situation is a little different because my daughter's mom has a man, so I don't really play that role as far as I'm a help you out in those type of situations. Do you think it's important if she's a single parent to be there, or where do you think that line is drawn?
I will say that it's a case-by-case situation.
Okay.
Because obviously, every woman is not the same, and they don't hold the same priorities as far as their kids and stuff like that. But me personally, I don't really care if she got a man.
Okay.
If she needs if I know that she needs something because my kid is there, I'll make sure that she has it.
I feel that.
Like regardless of him being there and what he, quote unquote, should be doing for her, and I don't really care.
I love that.
And I mean case in point, they moved to a new house maybe a year or two ago. It might have been 2 years ago now. And she needed a washer and dryer. Mm-hmm. And she had a guy. Okay. But I got a washer and dryer. Because at the end of the day, I don't want you to have to go to the laundromat to wash my kid clothes.
Okay.
Everybody else was like, well, she gonna be washing that kid clothes, and you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like I don't really care.
I love that.
Like I just think it's a matter of making your kid the priority. Yeah. And to me, that's all it is making your kid the priority. Now, he turns 18 this year. In a few months. And he's going to graduate.
Yeah.
And when we separated, he may have been 12 at that point, because he's 17 now. So he may have been 12 or still 11, getting ready to turn 12. Actually, he was getting ready to turn 12. So,
how has that been for him?
It was rocky at first.
Okay.
So like we had to do the counseling thing.
You put him through
I'm down for counseling.
Okay.
Like I'm down for counseling. Like when I say like that helped him, like it helped him tremendously. He was diagnosed with ADHD when he may have been in the second grade. So he already had, his issues just with focusing. Mm-hmm. And then now and now that, like, it was like an immediate effect in school. Like grades went down. The homework would be crumpled up in the bag. He did it, and it'd be crumpled up in the bag, and he didn't turn it in. And the teacher said the assignments are missing, and we trying to figure out. And we go through his book bag, and they're all in it.
Wow.
So I mean, it was a lot of stuff. I think for him, and everybody had their own way of dealing with it. So I think in a lot of ways, like we tried to be upfront with him in the beginning, but then we also kind of tried to sugarcoat it a little bit, just because we knew where his mental was and how he worries, because he's a worrier, because she's a worrier. Okay. So he's definitely a worrier. Mm-hmm. So a lot of stuff, we just don't bother him with if we don't really feel like we need to.
Yeah, and that's I think that's important though.
It was a process.
Yeah.
It helped him tremendously though. So I want to say that he's good now. I mean, I'm sure that there's still some reservation. Like, I think there's a piece of him that still wants us to be back together. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, we still, regardless of what's going on and what she may say about me today and what I may say about her next week, like, we still do the family trips and little stuff like that, because it's about him.
It is.
And you got to know your kid. And I know that he needs to be able to see that, regardless of us not being together, and he know we're not gonna be together, because he know that, he know that I'm with a guy.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of it, like, he still wants to be able to see us get along and be cohesive and be able to handle stuff. Yeah. And it's no different than if we were still in the same household. Like, if he asks her something, he know he got to come and ask me and make sure that I'm cool with it too. Yeah. And I mean, he drives his own car now, so. Most kids that's driving their own car, they just pick up and go when they want. But he know he can't. Yeah. And he knows that his rules and his boundaries, and if he comes and stays at my house, he know that the same rules apply there that apply at home. And if he asks me something, what did your mother say? Yep. and vice versa, and
That's
all of
a
that
great
stuff. So
respectful co-parenting
yeah,
type of situation.
it has to be.
It has
if you
to
want
be.
your kid to be all right, it has to be.
And it's about, like you said, at the end of the day, the child. We got to get out of our feelings. We got to mature and be able to be there, both supporting our child.
Right.
So what does, you said he's about to turn 18.
Yes. So he's turning 18, graduating in 2 months.
Okay.
From Twinsburg. He's accepted into college already.
Wow.
And I shout that stuff. Because it's like,
as you should.
That's huge.
That's
but then,
major.
You know, on the flip side, like your kids do as you do. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes they stray. But for the most part, your kids do what they see you do.
They're watching you.
He's watched me go to school through his whole life. He's watched his mother go to school through his whole life. He's watched my mother go to school. He's watched my sister go to, like, everybody's about education. My sister's running for judge.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, we're all, like, I guess, of the ambitious
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
So,
For
like,
sure.
he sees that, and he sees what we're doing, and then we also promote, you know, obviously education and activities. So, I mean, he is probably the last 4 or 5 years he's played baseball, football, basketball.
Keep him busy. Yeah.
Swimming here and there. He did karate first 10 years. So, yeah.
So how has entrepreneurship and fatherhood meshed? Has it been difficult?
To be honest, it has not been. I don't feel like it's been. Which is, I guess, weird because most people find it to be really difficult and, you know, hard to balance your time. And
I struggle with that. I feel that sometimes I have to pull back a lot because I do so much and it's like, okay, well, I'm either dragging her with me or it's like I'm giving her the last of me, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
So you've been doing it way longer than me. So is there any, since it has not been difficult for you per se, is there any advice that you could give to me and other people watching to kind of get where you are as far as it being a more easier road?
I'm gonna think on the advice piece.
Okay.
I think what has made it easy for me is number one, the support system.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of support, obviously, in like following my passion and, you know, my endeavors and the things that I want to do. But I've also had a lot of help, like in the sense of like raising him.
Yeah.
And just the village thing. Like people say it takes a village.
It
and
does.
It really, really does.
It does.
So, you know, unfortunately her parents passed away not too long after we were married. But they were like very involved and very helpful, you know, while they were here. My mother and my stepfather have been beyond helpful. I mean, whether it's babysitting, you know, taking them here. She buy all the high ticket items at Christmas time.
Yeah. We love that.
Just outside of, you know, obviously like, you know, that piece of it, like there just has been a lot of support. There's been a lot of support. So I think that that's helped me, you know, in times where I need to travel and do something. You know, anytime that I would travel and go and do something, I would make sure that throughout the day, like I'm FaceTiming him so he still sees me.
Yeah.
He's had an iPhone since he was 7.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
It's important. That's what I was like.
I mean,
when you walked in talking to me.
I've learned to use technology where it can really help me, but then everything that I do deals with technology.
Yeah.
So it's really worked out for me. And then, you know, again, as he got older.
Do you include him?
I do.
Okay.
So he's very, like, we actually have a podcast that we haven't really done very much with because he's been crazy busy.
And that's okay.
And it's cool.
That's absolutely okay.
He's been very involved in everything that I do, like as far as the media piece. And then as he gets older, he can really travel to stuff, and he knows the people that I'm covering celebrity-wise, and he gets to meet a lot of people. So like, I've taken him to Atlanta with me a lot. You may have seen, like, I posted a lot of pictures of like him and Candy, or like us and, you know, her mom, and like different stuff like that. So he goes out with me for a lot of that stuff. And
I
he
love
has
that.
been really, I'll say since we had moved down south. So
Okay.
he was like 11 then.
Yeah.
So I would say like around that time, because we were closer to Atlanta, he would go to Atlanta with me when I was doing
Okay.
stuff down there. But then I have celebrities in my family too.
Okay.
And we more recently met them,
Mm-hmm.
but he's been able to kind of see that piece of it too.
I love that.
So that's helped out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I try to include him as much as I can. Like I talk about him all the time when I'm doing different stuff. So it's almost like the people who I talk to, even if he's not there, they know
They
him.
know him.
And they
Yeah.
know of him, and he'll hear people mention him and stuff like that. And
I have a lot of Facebook friends that are like, my niece Chloe or my virtual,
Yeah.
and I love that
Yeah.
because I think they are
It's
a
about the
part of
village.
us. Yeah.
And as much as people down social media and whatnot, if you use it the right way
The right
and you
way.
are friending the right people,
Yeah.
then they become part of your village.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like anybody, like I obviously have my social media accounts that are, definitely media related
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But my Facebook, outside of like maybe a handful of celebrities, is only family.
Yeah.
So it's only family or only like really deep, strong friends.
Yeah.
So like everybody in my Facebook community knows my son.
Good.
And it's to the point where it could be anything. Like he had an accident on the highway a year ago. And there were people who were there before I got there because they were riding down the other side of the highway. And
Oh, wow.
And like,
Yeah, that's
it's
important.
like we got strong relationships and
Yeah.
a strong village. And so that helped me a lot.
Yeah, I love that.
That really helped me on the entrepreneurial side. And then it also has kind of given him that knowledge. So
Mm-hmm.
for the longest, he kept saying he wanted to go to school for entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
but now he's going for electrical engineering. But either way, he likes business though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he sees what I've been able to do as far as like building my brands and connecting with celebrities and that sort of thing.
I love that, man.
So, yeah.
I absolutely love that. Kudos to you.
I appreciate it.
That is a big deal.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
a very, very big deal.
Absolutely.
Where do you see what's next for your brand? Like
My
where-
radio station.
Okay.
I hate saying I want to be the next XYZ.
Yeah.
But I mean, essentially, I'm trying to, in a sense, do what like the Tom Joyners have done. So I am launching a midday
Okay.
kind of, I say a drive time show, but like a midday show.
Okay.
I am a lover of internet radio.
Okay.
So I've been in internet radio for about 6-7 years. And I've been with a few stations. And I'm just in the place where, more of the entrepreneurial side, I want to run my own ship.
I love that.
I don't want to be on the Radio Ones or the Clear Channels or the iHeart. Like,
Yeah.
I may stream through those platforms, but I want my own space.
Okay.
My own space where I can do my own show. And in all honesty, much of it is just going to be me running my own platforms. But I may bring some, usher some people in as things are up and running. But then I also have the podcast network, which I'm continuously building on that. So the radio station and podcast network were actually kind of dual. So they were like two of the, they were kind of in the same bucket. But I did the podcast network last summer, and then the radio station is this summer. So
It's amazing, man.
so
I
yeah,
am
it's moving
staying busy.
very much so.
I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate
love
the
to
opportunity.
hear about everything that you're doing.
Yeah,
Stay encouraged.
they got my tears. Like
We love that. We love
they wasn't
vulnerability.
supposed to, but they got my
That's
tears.
what
But
you're
I mean,
here
it just showed that like I'm human.
Yeah.
Like I'm human, and shit, we hurt too.
Yeah.
And it's about how we deal with it, and getting help, and all of that stuff. And I mean, I'm in a good place. I can still grow,
Good.
in some areas and whatnot.
Good. I'm excited to see it, and I hope that somebody watching this got something out of it, because I know I did. That's what Bro Let's Talk is for. So once again, thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. And until next time, we are out.